Hey, this is Tiger. Welcome to my stream, even if it had been a bit delayed because the preview channel on Steam that I can only run the Liberec Stará Paka on properly just got an update before I wanted to start. It's gonna be a very cozy and private stream anyway, I guess, because the roadmap is running. The roadmap stream is running parallel with me, but CD Radar is here, and this is the most important fact because this is what we're doing it for. We've been waiting, and Akura is here too. Moin again, guys. So nice to have you on the stream. Ne vie Jim. What is that? I don't know that. I have read so much Czech language, but this I don't know. Moin, I understand. Moin again. So, what we are doing is Liberec Stará Paka. Where is the DLC marker? Here, Liberec Stará. Got the wrong accent, didn't I? Should be in the other direction. Liberec Stará. Oh, it is in the correct direction. At least in the file. It looks different on my preview. But then I can leave it. I also turn on my disclaimer. Because somewhere it must be my disclaimer. Am I stupid now? Here it is. Because, like many other DLCs, I got this DLC key for free from Dovetail Games as being an ambassador. Nevertheless, you will hear my unfiltered opinion on this DLC as ever. And CD Radar says, I just cannot believe it. We are actually doing this. Yeah, I'm so happy. And I dug into this almost 400 pages document that CD Radar provided me with, thankfully, about the Czech signaling. And got what I thought is the most important information out of this document and tried to get it into a presentation. I just finished with what I have in with the presentation like 10 minutes before 8 o'clock. So there will be plenty of other stuff that we can talk about in other streams today. Where is the suffragette line now again? Heavens, I just took care of my stream title, and then there are parts of the stream title left that are not correct. Yeah, I just changed the primary title, did I not? Right. Suffragette line. Nonsense. Let's change it. Liberec Stará Paka. Yeah, it has been a very, very busy time for me, and I had to finish some real-time work or real-life work, some freelance work that I was doing on the side, and that needed to be done until today. And then we are just drowning in I'm just drowning in new content at the moment because they are pouring out so much content that you can hardly get your head around everything. But the most important thing, in my opinion, is Liberec Stará Paka. The Expert 145 will be great too. We will look into this on Thursday until I have had the opportunity to look into it. But today, let's focus on the Czech. There's no suffragette line in Liberec. That is so true. And Okara says, yesterday I got distracted by a friend of mine, but today I'm fully in focus. Let's check the Czech signaling. Yes, check that. And get into the game for that. I always have to skip this because in the preview channel I cannot connect to Dovetail Games for whatever reason. And let's check it out what we have here in the Liberec Stará Paka route. Of course, we have a rail journey for Liberec Stará Paka. It is called Bohemian Adventures and has 63 items to do. And it starts not only with an introduction to the 2 trains that are in the game, but you get a walk around and an introduction, and that is quite cool because there is actually a lot to discover on those trains. You typically have fully modeled engine room on the locomotive, and you have a lot of modeled stuff on the DMU. You have a pneumatic cabinet, you have an electric cabinet, and you have a very elaborate digital system telling you what the train is doing and stuff. Apparently, or obviously, it is talking to you in Czech. There is a button where you can switch to English, but this one does not work. Yeah, you see, the service is actually quite long. If you do the OS services, which are the slowest services that stop at almost every station, so it's almost 2 hours to run the line, and you have quite difficult scenarios. This is a funny scenario where you just enter a dead train and have to not only start it from cold, but only debug it so that you can run it. The goggles, it still says, I think it should be the goggles. Maybe this will be fixed at some point still. And also here, walk around in introduction, banking operations, and then a lot of shunting. So this locomotive is typical for the freight trains. And yeah, as I said, 36 items on this journey here. If we look at the route itself, where did it go? Then we see that there is a bombastic number of scenarios coming with this DLC. Not 3, not 4, not 5, but you can count it not less than 9, including the can you fix it scenario. There are still some bugs in some of them so that they can't be finished, so this needs to be fixed still, but in my opinion this does not take away a lot of fun. Well, obviously if you're driving like for 2 hours and then you can't finish the scenario because you cannot click some brake report or whatever, then it is frustrating, but still they're doing a lot of innovative new things with the radio on the train and with brake sheets and stuff. 10k AP, so where? Yeah, probably. AP for that. I did not check it out whether this makes sense or not, but you can see a lot of long scenarios. Most of them are really long, except for the shunting, and this one they cut into 2 pieces so that it can be done. I did not have the time, but for all medals. And yeah, and of course we have a timetable also. Liberec, where are we? Timetable, and let's look at the layers. Because obviously we have the layers for the 843, the 750. Those are the 2 trains that are in the DLC. This is a DLC that brings you 2 full new trains. That has been some time that we actually got a DLC with 2 fully new trains and not some hastily put together trains, but 2 trains with a lot of depth and a lot of detail and reality. So it has been some time since we have seen a release like that. Then the Desiros trains from the Maintalbahn are layering in what those trains are actually doing here. So those are AI trains. What this layer is, I don't know. Well, I wanted to show the layers because Spectre typically asks for it. And those 3 trains are here. The Maintalbahn, the Desiros trains are actually playable. They end in Turnov. There you can see them stand around a lot. And you have not 1 livery for the goggles, 750 locomotive for 5 of them, right? The red yellow star, the green yellow stripe, the green, and the blue one in the Czech livery. Are they in the game, the 854? I don't know. I have not really seen them yet, but there is definitely a layer. Maybe this is already something pointing into the future. This is what I can see. I don't have any information, neither classified nor unclassified, but it is here. First thing that I wanted to do with you now is to look in one of those tutorials, introductions for the goggles locomotive, and let's see how that looks and feels like. Signaling is a lot in the game. Obviously no automatitsky block from what I've seen, so all traditional control signals.
Hello driver, and welcome to the training center. Today you are going to learn some basics of operating the Czech class 750 locomotive.
Open the electric compartment's door, and this is this big grumpy thingy.
Open the doors to the electric compartment and switch on the batteries handle to get some electric power.
So, battery turned on. Here we are at a bit more than 90 volts. That is not so super much. You can see it also has those diagrams about the main circuits and stuff, and traction diagrams and whatever this actually is. The seat actually moves to the side if you open the panels.
Insert the reverser and move it forwards to the engine-only position. The engine can only be started in one of the two engine-only positions.
Let's see if we can do that. Reverser. Those are the settings, engine only front.
Hold the green start button until the engine starts and revs up to 480 RPM.
The revs should be seen here on this gauge. There he comes. And there it is, 480.
You can
Almost
speed up the
500.
compressor by increasing engine RPM if you have the reverser in the engine-only position.
Okay. We won't do that now, because we have the time. Signal. That's the beauty from the outside. You can also see why it is called a goggles locomotive, because of those goggles here. Now we turn on the lights. 3 switches for it. You can turn them to red or you can turn them to white. Now we want to switch on the radio. If we do that, we don't have 3 lights on top. If we want to have a 3rd light, then we need to set the headlights on reduced. Then we have also a 3rd light to have the classic 3 lights at the top. Now we need the radio power breaker that is here in this line of beautifully colored. Switch on the safety system power breaker is what here. Safety systems are on the train, but they are on the line only implemented so far that we are getting a vigilance control, not the cab signaling. Here's our beautifully modeled engine room. Those beams clip through your head very well. And this valve here is a quite unique thing. You have to close it if your safety systems are turned off, and open it if they are active. The thing is, if we actually want to activate the safety systems, we need to do it here. We can select the cab that we are driving from, and then we have to put this in start until this light turns on, but it won't turn on at the moment because this only will happen if we apply the locomotive brake. And then if we try this again, then this light here should light up, and it does, and then we can put it to active, and then our vigilance device should actually work. So, sit in the driver's seat. Main reservoir is filling with air, that was okay. Then release the handbrake, and this is a tricky one because we have a handbrake for both of the bogies. The rear cab does not have this electric cabinet, but it has this, also great. Can shave and wash your ears if you don't manage to do this before you leave home and get on your locomotive. And then we need to release the handbrake on the other side. Train will be held in place by the loco brake if we release the train brake. Then we have to unlock the BS2 train brake by turning the key. That is quite normal. And we should put it into release position. We have heard that before. Into release position.
Wait until the brake pipe is filled and the brakes release. We have a bit of time to say some basic things about how to drive this locomotive. You need to monitor the ammeter when driving. Try not to exceed the red mark starting at 2400A. You can temporarily overload the locomotive, but doing so for prolonged periods of time could lead to damage. You should start by first setting the regulator to first notch and waiting until you see some current on the ammeter. Then, you can start to increase the power. Wait until the brakes are released and try that for yourself.
We definitely will. Brake pipe needs to be inflated to 5 bars. We are at 3 bars at the moment. The red hand is the main reservoir, black hand is the brake pipe. Those are the brake cylinders. Those diagrams are wonderful. Totally tell you what it is. Like oil temperature, head of cylinder temperature, probably the oil pressure here with the meter. Train heating, reading lamp, sender. Isn't that a beautiful whistle? You can actually also switch on and off the back lights from here. Instrument lights are here if you want them. Instrument lights are intensity. This is for starting and stopping the engine. A buzzer button. We have a radio. Look at that. Isn't that beautifully done? And I have not checked out too much with the radio, but you can change the channel. And sometimes you can actually switch the channel in the game, like you put it here I think, and then Stuha is the channel, and I switched it from 62 to 15. Call the signaler here, but typically nobody answers. And there is actually an implementation in the game. An ASRTO, hello, let me do check signaling. Polish signaling plus flashing yellow aspects can flash slow or fast. That's the end of it. That's what you think. Also the green aspects can flash slow and fast, and the white lights can flash slow and fast. Well, maybe we have 5 bars in the brake pipe. Unfortunately, it is not progressing. Maybe I have to release the local brake before we can start. Vigilance light, the blue one here. This is where the cab signaling happens. Every time this blue light goes off, you have to hit your button unless you activate the local brake. We can create some more pressure by applying power in Leerlauf, in engine only. Let's try if we can actually start the locomotive. Doesn't seem so. I probably did something that I should not have done. Ah, now we're drawing some power. But the brakes are still not in a position where they want to be released. We can always try releasing them by hand. It's actually not such a long train. Aha. And the train is rolling. That almost sounds like Thomas the Tank Engineer, is the tsetse-tatsi thingy. That always gives you a quite accurate range of what speed you're actually traveling in. Yes. This is the 750 locomotive that you will get with the Liberec Stará Paka. And now let's start the 843 DMU. And after we stopped at the first station, let's look at the Czech signaling in the presentation. Well, technically the 854 is not a DMU because it is not a multiple unit, it's a DSU, a diesel single unit. But just like the Allegras in the Bernina line, they can pull coaches around. Or run on their own, and I'm probably doing a service where they are running on their own. Like this one here. Stará Paka to Liberec. Let's do this. Let's do this direction. You might have realized that I am still operating under the effects of a cold in the head, so that my voice is a few degrees darker than normal and my nose is a few degrees more blocked than normal. So, here we are. Drive the service from Stará Paka to Liberec. That's what we are going to do. We are supposed to unlock the door here. We're just running with this thing. For that, we turn on the master key so that we can do something with our train, and then we open the doors. Then we activate the safety systems, but not before applying the brakes. Switch in the brakes. Then for the brakes to release, we have to switch this thing to J, so you can see the brake pipe is filling, otherwise we will be hard put getting anywhere. Then we need the headlights in reduced and the signal lights in all white. If you're running this thing alone and you don't have the tail lights on, that gives us the opportunity to not only have a look at this one, the Coffin's the CD radar. Alright. You have a electric cabinet here with the fuses, and where you can, for example, set the regulator for the brakes from R to P. Then you have a pneumatic cabinet where you can, from what I have seen, always also get locked into your cabinet. This is obviously not what is supposed to happen, but can happen, where you can operate all the valves, or a lot of the valves. Is that your hide and seek hiding zone, for example? Yes. And here you can operate the train lights and more. If it is not bright enough, and that is the back cap. And here we wanted to have the signal lights both red. Don't close the doors so fast. Now we have to get going soonish. Hope that we did not forget something. To close the doors. If you want to use the automatic speed control, but it's quite nice. Reminds you of the automatic speed controls that we know from Simrail and the PESA trains. I think we're starting at 50 here. At this nice signal, you can already see the markings with red stripes that are longer than white stripes. To set the reverser in forward, you have to put this thing in V, otherwise it does not work. This is what this caption here tells you. And then I have to change and switch off the markers again. That always happens if you play a tutorial. The radio obviously needs to be switched to dark mode, and then we can see if we can start this thing. We can't, as the train tells us, because we forgot to release the loco brake. And then we can try again. You have to hold it a bit until you can see. people. VJS you already know from the 136. Yes, VJS. The J for yeasty. Or probably in a different inflection. And we're going. Those beautiful blue signals. Speedboard allowing us to go 85. As soon as we have passed, we have a train length counter that does not really apply a lot if we're only running in one coffin. At some point we also had announcements. Don't know if we get the announcement soon. Volny Kanal, the channel is free, and when it says this thing that starts with the O, then somebody is speaking on the channel. Obsazent, then it is somehow occupied. Slowing down because there is a reduction to 80 if I'm not mistaken after the next station. We can call this thing a station. It's a beautiful scenery, definitely. Five incoming, even though line speed is going up to 95. But we should slow down to 50 since it is already there around the next corner. We can use the automatic speed control quite nicely. Apart from that, we have a lot of switches here. We have a lot of switches here. This thing always tells us that something went wrong. I have not been able to decipher actually what it is telling us that is wrong. Sometimes happens with the automatic speed control. And now we're coasting in. Here is the blue light for the vigilance device in case you wondered.
Bělá u Staré Paky.
Here we are. We're braking with dynamic brakes up to the point until we move it from a BE to the next notch. BP. And we're also additionally braking with the air brakes so that we can stop the train, because with the electric brake alone we can't properly do this. So, it's not the greatest station in the world. What beautiful scenery around. And I will... Oh, you are a naturalist. Yeah, well... This is quite tricky, but sometimes it works. And now the presentation. Thank you. That is very nice of you to say that. It was nice driving. Now the presentation about the Czech signaling, and from a lot of stuff that we can tell about and learn about Czech signaling. As I already mentioned, CD Radar gave me a document in Czech language that is almost 400 pages long, and there is a lot of text in this document, and it does not make it easier to read that it is all in Czech, but it has some pictures, and I threw the captions for the pictures into a translator program. And there is anything about ETCS in this document, obviously, yes, but in the game I don't think there is. At least I have not found any hint, not the signal that applies to ETCS, not anything that is in the train that can be seen as ETCS. What I'm talking about now is light signals, obviously. There have been at Mirel, not as Mirel, but the LZ safety system is in the trains, but not in the track. So we don't get the cab signaling, but we get the vigilance from the LZ system, and turning on the system is implemented nicely because you have to activate the loco brake so that you can prime it. You have to put it into start first before you can put it into active. There are apparently some problems in recovering from a penalty brake from this safety system, but the beginnings are actually there. But this line also in real life does not support a more advanced form of this safety system, right? And CD Ray says, "Oh, from today, a Polish Pendolino train runs on a regular route in the Czech Republic." Does it now? Well, not in my game at the moment. Light signals in Czech language. Světelná navěstidla. The světelná is the light, and the navěstidla is the plural of signals. It was difficult for me to distinguish between navěst, what is the aspect of the signal, and navěstidlo, what is the signal itself, and also difficult for the translator programs that I used because it always translated things like signals of signals, and that is always a great thing to go by. Automatic block signals like the SBL in Polish signaling also exists in Czech signaling, the automatický block, but it does not exist in the game from what I've seen. So far in the game, there are only typically controlled signals that are controlled by a signaler. Let's look at it. How the signals are arranged. This is something that we have seen before. Those are, this is my example line, two tracks next to each other. We are looking at the line that is going into this direction here. There is a station, there is another station, there is some sort of a siding at this station. And at the station you get signals. And main signals you can always recognize by this lavni, and those are main light signals or light main signals. Světelné lavní navěstidlo in this time the singular. A main light signal. Wjezdové is the signal that you encounter when you're entering the station area. What is typically translated with a home signal, or in German terminology like an entry signal, Einfahrsignal. Wjezdové. Then if you encounter main signals in the station between the entrance and the exit of the station, and you get something like an intermediate signal, Zwischensignal, and those signals are called the Wjezdové signals. what is translated with en route or something. Well, between entry and exit at any rate, and the OSJD is the starter or exit signal that you typically can encounter in stations. So those are the 3 types of main signals that you can encounter in a station area or in another area that is protected like a station area, like sometimes junctions or interlockings. Also, signals that can require you to stop are those, the blue ones, and we will see which signals apply for what, because the distinction between trains and shunting services is also in the Czech system, just a bit like we know that from Polish signaling, from German signaling, from Austrian signaling, from most continental signaling systems. Also the British system distinguishes between trains and shunting services. And for that we have those nice markings on our posts. If you have a red, white, red marking on the signal, be it painted on the mast or as a sign, then you have to check whether the red and white markings have the same length, because if they are actually of the same length, then this signal applies to trains only, not for shunting services. So shunting services can actually pass this signal even if this shows a red aspect. Whereas if you want a signal that applies to both trains and shunting services alike, then you have a marking where the red markings are significantly longer than the white markings. I might have exaggerated a bit in my example here, but just to make it clear, and in the game you find both markings, and then you know whether this is a thing for trains or only a thing for shunting services. And shunting service has to stop here but can pass this signals. Very often the home signals are trains only signals, and the signals within the station area and also the start signals are signals that apply to shunting services and to trains alike. If you have a signal that is only applicable to shunting services, a holding signal, then this is colored like this with white, blue, white, and as a train you can typically pass them, even if it shows the blue light, what always looks so nice at night in SimRail, for example. And this thing is called Vidkavaci Njavestitlo. And this is a holding signal, holding shunting services. And this shows Posun or Posun Sakasan, shunting forbidden. So shunting you can't, train can pass. Posun Sakasan is also the signal that you get at the limit of shunt point. That is also like a thing that is in a lot of signaling systems, that at some point beyond the exit signal there is a point where the shunting services can't go further in the open track. In German you have those semicircular white signs where DTG mixed up the Halt für Rangierfahrten and Halt für Schubfahrten a couple of months ago, all the time when they were mixing up German and Austrian signaling. And sometimes in some signaling systems you have a limit of shunt. The Polish sign looks the same but does not have any writing on it. Here you typically get a post that has a blue cap, and this tells you that a shunting service cannot pass this point. If a signal that can be switched is supposed to allow the shunting, then it typically switches to a white light that tells you Posun Dovolen, shunting allowed. And the numbers that I'm giving you, by the way, are the number of the rules in the document that CD Radar provided me with, so that you can actually check it out whether I got it right or wrong. Or maybe something's changed. The document's title is named here on the side. It's dated of 2018. Maybe something has been updated since then, but the long and short of it should be more or less the same, and be what we can work with. Yeah, traditionally, if you're approaching a home signal from the open track, then you get warned about the status of the home signal, and this is done by a distance signal. Also in the Czech system you can get Samostatná světelná předvěst, or is an dependent signal that depends on the home signal. We translate it as a distance signal. Typically, those are the rules that apply for it. It has a post that is typically gray, not red, white, red, and not white alone, not blue, white, so, but gray to indicate that this is not the main signal. And see, I didn't give you the latest version because it's useful when the game is also in 2018. Oh, that is beautiful, CD Radar. Perfect. Then we are actually talking about the status of the signaling in 2018 that we have in the game. Perfect. And if we get a route that is set in a more recent time, then we have to update it then. Back to my distance signal. Distance signals, what we know from the German, also from the Polish systems, are typically marked by a 4-Signaltafel, a distance signal board. New test slipper. Hallo, meine Damen und Herren. Dobry večer to you. So nice to have you on the stream and have fun with Czech signaling system. So this signal that actually consists of 2 times the letter V, one written normally, one written upside down and meeting in the middle, is also used in the Czech signaling system, called as stanoviště samostatné předvěstí, what is translated to the location of a distance signal. So this sign marks that this is a distance signal here. And also what we know from German signaling and other signaling systems, those distance signals are typically announced by those countdown boards with those black diagonal stripes. There can be 3 or there can be 4 depending on the line speed, and those thingies have the very descriptive title of Vlak se blíží k samostatné předvěstí, what means that the train, Vlak is the train, is approaching a distance signal. And well, I more or less translated it very down to earth with distance signal countdown boards. They are spaced according to this rule. If the line speed is up to 60 kilometers per hour, you get 3 in a spacing of at least 75 meters in between. If the line speed is then higher, but not higher than 100, you get 4 of them with the same spacing. And if the line speed is higher than 100, what does not happen in the game, you would get 4 with a spacing of 100 meter in between. If necessary, because there is a bend or some other things that are obstructing the view, blocking the view, let's have it simple, then you can have a repeater, a distance signal repeater, and the distance signal repeater is typically marked with a white light. This exactly looks like in Polish signaling. In German signaling we do the same. We have one white light, but it is smaller than the light that gives us the aspect from the distance signal. Typically the one on the top left or on the HV distance signals and repeaters. The Zusatzlicht that is also used as a Kennlicht and also used for indicating that the distance signal is in a insufficient braking distance or in a distance that is shorter than 95% of the regular braking distance. Something like this. This light, steady white light, is also in Czech signaling. We get to this later in the end of this presentation. A means to indicate that there is insufficient braking distance from this signal on, and that the driver cannot rely that there is enough braking distance until he or he gets to the main signal. And since repeaters are always some way halfway or in between, the braking distance is always shorter than it would be starting at the distance signal. This is called a thing, a samostatná opakovací světelná předvěst. The opakovací makes the difference here. That is the thing that repeats the distance signal. Here's my other station. A smaller station does not have a gestoway, no intermediate signal, but a starter signal here and a home signal there. Why do I need it? Because I want to show that there can be an automatic block in between, not the system here with a distance signal at the end of the open track, but an automatic block in between. So you can get the same signals. Now they are called odilové, what is the section signal, and that would be translate most probably into a block signal. AB for automatický block, meaning that this is a signal from an automatic block system. ABS is typically a thing that we know from Anglo-Saxon signaling systems. Not so obvious in the German system that it also exists there, because the signals just look the same like the control signals. But for example, in the Polish signaling, it is very obvious, and it is using also the same markings on the post. We get a white post for those signals, not white, red, white, not gray, but a white one. Then we know that those signals are automatic block signals, and yeah, this is the rule that tells us that the automatic block signal will have a white post. Then there are obviously more, so that you have more sections, so that not only one train can run through the open line to the next station, but yeah, more in more blocks, obviously. One signal is then the last one in the sequence of automatic block section signals, and that typically works as being a distance signal for the home signal. That is a control signal. Again, also that is more or less a thing that follows automatically from the concept of automatic block signals in between controlled intersection or station areas. And this last one then typically can show more aspects. We have seen this in the Polish discussion of the SBL, the samoczynne blokada liniowe, and it is not so different in Czech signaling too. Also, we get the same sign in Polish signaling. Is called the Wskaźnik 18. In Czech, it is a signal that has stanowiště odilowého navěstidla. Odilowého is the genitive form, so it is the location of a section signal. Well, also those signals are section signals, so this would not tell us much, but it is the last block signal, and this gives us the additional information that the next signal will be a controlled one, and that this signal here serves as a distance signal for the controlled signal at the entrance of the next controlled area, typically a station. And those signals here consist the automatický block, the automatic block, including the starter signal that does not have, and thank you CD Radar for this hint, because that actually confused me when I read that this belongs to the automatický block. I figured that it must have a white mast too, but this is not the case. It belongs to the automatický block, so that the next signal can do something with it, but it still has the typical marking for exit signals. Automatický block, as soon as we have it in the game, we will talk more about it. Today we will limit what we are talking about on the control signals, I think. Yes, that was that. Just to repeat, we have 5 kinds of main signals. The 5th one we will see on the next page. 3 that live in station areas, wjezdové, the home signal, cestové, the ones intermediate, and odjezdové, the ones when you're leaving the station areas. Then you have in between that can be automatic or not automatic signals, odilové signals that are block signals, and the next one is the Grichi signals that are cover signals, typically for level crossings or something like this, but we will get to this on the next station. Shunting signals are more complicated than those here. Those are the most important ones. Also, this post here is important in my opinion, but there can be more signals that give you additional information, what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. We will have a special stream about this. Important it is that you are not confused by the blue signals when you're running a train. Schweizer Raclette, hello, nice to have you on the stream. I hope you're enjoying the Czech signaling. Distance signals we can have, they have the typical X shaped 4-signal board, actually 2 V's standing on top of each other. We have repeaters that have the white steady light to mark them as repeaters, and those barkins here, we talk about it in Dutch, they indicate that we are approaching a distance signal, and it is a special distance signal. We will get this on the next slide, because those distance signals with this distance signal sign always indicate that you're approaching one of those 3 signals: a Viestové, a Cestové, or an Odjestové signals that live in the station area. So, are there more countdown boards? For example, if you're approaching a home signal of this station here, let's say here it's only one home signal, and there is something that blocks the view, like bushes here, then you can get countdown boards that somehow look a bit like the Rautentafel that announce level crossing signals in German signaling, for example, but it is not. They are countdown boards for the main signal. Vlak z Blížík Vlavnímu na vestidlu. Vlavnímu, I don't know what that case is. Locative, instrumental, dative, whatever it is. A beautiful ending at any rate. So we are approaching a home signal with our train, and this home signal is obviously a main signal. Not a home signal, it says we are approaching a main signal. It can be one of the 3 or whatever. And this can be indicated by those countdown boards. There's never a 4th one. The spacing is a little different, up to 60 kilometers. Those 3 are spaced 75 meters. Above that, it is 100 meters. Countdown boards in German signalings, we don't have a dative. It is to whom, what. Thank you. Lavnímu na vestidlu. That is dative then. Perfect. And yeah, in Dutch signaling we have the reflectorplaatjes that announce a main signal. In Austria we have those mast signs that we typically use for main signals that indicate that we are approaching a main signals. In Germany we don't do that for whatever reason. Then coming back to what I've talked about, this on open track, sometimes it can happen that we have to cross a road in a level crossing, and sometimes those level crossings are protected by main signals. Those signals are neither Viestové, Cestové, or Odjestové signals, and they are not Odilové signals, but they are Krycí signals, cover signals that cover the danger point here, the level crossing. And those signals on the open track can also be announced by a distance signal, same distance signal that announces a home signal. But in this case, when they are announcing a signal that is not a station area signal but an open track signal, then it has a different kind of a signal, distance signal board, not the export. We have a rectangular cross here. It's called the same, but it is a different number, not 1023 but 1024. And also the countdown boards look different. They are not the diagonal stripe, but we have horizontal stripes up to 4, and also again the same name, same spacing, but the difference is we are approaching a main signal that does not belong to a station area. And often you also get this yellow triangle on those signals telling you that if you are actually passing these signals, because we can get back to this in a second, open track main signals are just like automatic block signals. When they are showing a single red permissive, that means you can stop in front of them and pass them. Americans, it is totally clear. It's a stop and proceed signal, and for the main signals that are not station signals, this is a thing that you find in a lot of signaling systems, that you can pass them with authority. Used to be so in the British system. They just abolished this a couple of years ago. In the German system, we don't have that. We don't really have permissive signals in the German system. And we only have those signals that can be under certain circumstances be passed with permission if the dispatcher cannot be reached or something with the white, yellow, white mast signs and this stuff. But typically not. And here the rule is the other way around. Signals on the open track are permissive and can be passed, and then this sign tells you that you have to pay attention to level crossings and be extra cautious not to run into cars. This thing is called a Hodkovice Ohří Břejezd. Well, if something is called an Hodkovice, then it is always something that tells you that you have to expect something to happen in the way ahead. The same goes for Odilové main signals that also live on the open track, not in station areas. And this is more or less the precursor of the automatic block signal. Sometimes you can divide the open track between two stations by section signals that are main signals, and this brings to mind, at least to my mind, those types of British signals, the intermediate block signals that I have still want to find in the game. At any rate, those not automatic block signals are also announced if they have a distance signal in front of them by this kind of distance signal boards and countdown boards, because those signals are permissive, unlike the signals at the station area where you have to stop and stay and not stop and proceed like on the open track main signals. Okay, signaling aspects. Should be easy, right? Because it is the same that the Polish system uses or the German systems in eastern part of Germany with the HL system. We have discussed it a lot. Typically, the lower part of the signal tells you how fast you can go now, if at all there is a restriction, and the upper part of the signal tells you what to expect at the next signal. So nothing on the bottom would tell you no limit now, and green one on top. No limit now, expect clear road next time. Why is it that those signals follow more or less the same system? Because they all go back to the OSJD or OSShD, the Organization for Cooperation of Railways, was the thing in the Eastern Bloc at the time. So all the countries in Eastern Germany that used to be part of the Eastern Bloc share this, and this also applies to Eastern Germany as the German Democratic Republic. So, same. But the Czechs wouldn't be the Czechs if they would contend with this 4x4 matrix. It needs to be a bit more complicated in the Czech system. So I made a matrix that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 7 matrix. And it is beautiful because if you arrange them properly, then you can find your typical red, yellow, green signals in this matrix, and it comes more or less naturally. If you want to start with the red one, signal that allows you not to pass the signal, it is obviously in the system. It's the STUI signal. And on the opposite end of the matrix is the Volno signal, the clear signal that says no limit now and expect everything to be cozy at the next signal as well. And then typically you also have a yellow signal that tells you now you can pass, feel free to do that, but be prepared to stop at the next signal. Vystraha. And all the other places, almost one. This one does not get filled for whatever reason. You can make something in between by applying some speed restrictions. Haha, so true. Yeah. This is what we know from the German HL system, also from the Polish system. If you have a yellow light on the bottom, then it tells you there is some kind of a speed restriction. There is never a green light at the bottom. There is either a yellow light or there is no light. If there is a yellow light, then you get told there is some kind of a speed restriction. And what kind of speed restriction actually gets defined by what is shown in this box underneath the signal. So the yellow light with nothing in addition is 40. That limits you to 40. If it shows a yellow band in the box underneath, then this gets upgraded to 60. That we know from the HL system. Same in the Polish system. If we have not a yellow band, but a green band, then this would be, and now we think, yeah, we know it all, 100, like the HL system. But nope. In Czech system, this is 80. One green band, because there can also be two green bands, and that will be the 100. And if there is nothing, then there is no restriction, obviously. Still 2 slots left. One slot is we can downgrade the 40 to 30, and there we have this aspect that is described in the rules as a yellow 3 with 2 lines next to it. It is probably shown in yellow to emphasize that it is a relevant restriction that is more restrictive than nothing at all, and on the other hand, that this is not just an announcement of an incoming speed restriction. So with the 3 and the 2 lines next to it, this means 30 now. And then we can use indicators that tell us, just like in the German KS system with the ZS3 signals, what speed we're actually supposed to go, like here 120. I put an asterisk to it because the rules say they mark it out for 120, but you can also use different speeds here. A 9 or a 5, always multiplied by 10, and then you have the speed that you're restricted to. Works with a green lamp and a white indicator. In German system, for example, we would also use a white indicator to tell the speed, but we would combine it, at least at those speeds here, with a green lamp, not a yellow lamp. And we put it on top, not underneath. Yes, and then we have to announce those aspects with the top half of our signal. And if you only have a yellow light, then it tells us, like here, we have to stop at the next signal. If the yellow light is flashing slowly, then it announces we have to expect to slow down to 40. If it is a signal that does not have something on the bottom, then the rules at least say that it can also indicate that we have to slow down to 30. This comes not up in the other ones, but well, I just put it here, 40 or 30. If it is flashing fast and not slowly, Rychnov and not Pomolu or something like that, then you have to expect 60. So here's already a distinction between that. In the Polish system, in the German system, we would just have a flashing yellow light, and then we need to know from our track knowledge whether it is 40 or 60 that we are approaching. Same holds true for approach of 80 or 100 limit. If the green light is flashing slowly, then we are approaching an 80 limit. If it is flashing fast, then we are approaching a 100 limit. And then we can use the same thing with the indicators. If we put a yellow indicator on top of the whole thing, it needs to be on top because the top part of the signal is telling you what to expect. Unlike in the German one system, there it is the other way around, that we have the announcement underneath the signal and the relevant speed limit on top. But the colors are the same. Yellow is announcing, and white is enforcing, and here it is announcing a 120 limit. Again, also those announcing signals can use different speeds with different indicator numbers. And with a steady green, we are announcing that at the next signal there will be no limit. This is why nothing on the bottom and green on top will result in the high green Wolno signal, whereas yellow on top and nothing in the bottom will result in the plain caution signal, and the red signal obviously is where the lines connect and nothing else happens. If we can't pass the signal, then we don't need information what might happen on the next signal if we were allowed to pass it. Yeah, and then we can fill the matrix by just combining those signals and combining what they are telling us. Like going this column here down with a slow flashing on the top, No limit now, expect 40 or 30. Fast flashing, no limit now, expect 60 at the next one, and so on. No limit now, expect 80. No limit now, expect 100. And with the indicator, again, no limit now, expect 120. And then we can fill the matrix and all the rows. Like this for the 100 now, and expect something else. And you can see they are all marked out in the rules and they have all their number, right? And here with the single green stripe, here with the yellow stripe, here without any stripe at all. And here is the only thing that does not work. We cannot have a yellow indicator on top and a yellow indicator underneath. So this signal is not marked out in the rules. So we cannot have a 30 now, expect something else shown by an indicator, probably because the color clash in this signal. We will have two yellow numerals here. Maybe there is a different story why this signal is not defined in the rules, but it is not. And then you can either learn all those signal combinations by heart, or you learn the system of announcing and the system of enforcing, and you read your signals from bottom to top, and then you can see 80 and stop, or 100 and go, or wherever. Typically, the speed indicated here holds true for the anschließender Weichenbereich, if I may use the German word for that. So you have to pass the next switches or switch, and if there are no switches in your line, then you have to keep to the speed until you get to the next main signal. So actually looks a bit scary, all those signals with all those numbers, but the system makes a lot of sense, and it is actually easy if you get into this. Why my light here stopped flashing, I don't know, something happened here. It is actually supposed to flash. Here I have some problem with the flashing light on the fast flashing light on the 60. I will have to fix the presentation here. This is the only one that flashes properly. The other ones don't. But actually they are supposed to flash fast. What else is there to say what we can encounter in the game? When you're leaving Liberec towards Stará Paka, you sometimes get signals of that kind. Naviesti pro Jitsu Potle Rošle Dovich Pomeru. What is genitive, I think. Vich Pomeru. It is telling you that you have to drive on site. So not only slowly, but to drive under visibility conditions. The translator always tells you that you have to drive on site. Actually, those signals are a bit more complicated, what you can do, and until which switch you can go fast or not. But if you encounter a flashing white light on your main signal, then you have to go on site. So track might be occupied, track might be shorter, or something is actually required that you have to be able to stop within the track that you can actually see. This one would allow you to go faster a bit first until you get to the first switch. This would limit you to 40, and this would limit you to 30. It is not green, it is not yellow for whatever reason. So those three signals are applied. They all have in common that you have a flashing white light, slowly flashing white light, that require you to go on site. One thing that is beautiful implemented in the game from what I have seen, that sometimes you have signals that apply to more than one tracks, typically as starter exit signals called group exit signals. We have encountered this before in the game on the Niedertalbahn for German signaling. We have encountered this a lot in the Swiss narrow gauge DLCs, the Arusa and the Bernina, where on the passing areas you always have one signal regulating both tracks, and you need some sort of device specifying for what track this signal is actually good for. In Czech signaling, you can have this for like small station with 2 tracks and then only 1 track going to the next station, and there is only 1 signal. 1 OSJD way starter signal, and it has this marker here, 1 diagonal stripe. Then you know that this is a group exit signal marker. Skupinové is the word that makes the difference. Nevestitlo is the signal as itself. And well, how do you know? There is a signal with a green numeral that can be shown. I have not seen this in the game, only in the rules. But what happens in the game is that you actually get a call on your radio when you're supposed to leave here. It happens a bit fast because they give you the call already when you just stop there and the signal turns to green or is green. And then all of a sudden your radio gives the call sign. If you answer the call, nothing really happens, but this is supposed to simulate that the station master is telling you if the signal is green, then it is for you. So this additional clearance to departure on those signals that can apply to more than 1 track. And this is at Turnov, I think, are those signals, and then at one of those stations that you pass before you get to Liberec. Forgot the name. Yeah, one other thing. What happens if you have a reduced braking distance? You know that we have a white light on German signals, but before that we have seen it on the repeater signals. Again, a quite complicated name, Svjetelna lavnina vjestidla, mi stjena na nadostenčnu zapštnu lenost. Yeah, that is complicated to say. So main signals placed at a reduced brake distance, and they are marked with a steady white light, not with a flashing white light for the driving on site, but with a steady white light. And all the signals that have no indication on the bottom can have this. And there are some more, also those that allow 40 and that allow 30 can have it. The others cannot have it according to the rules. But this is how far I got in my presentation, and the rest we will actually discuss as we get there in discussing and playing the game when it has been released. So far it has not been released yet, and so this is the end of my presentation with the most important facts about the Czech signaling system, at least as I understood it from reading the document that CD Radar gave me, thankfully. Let's go back and drive this train to Liberec. It will take us some time anyway. I don't know if we make the whole run, but we can at least start. What I didn't do, it's always good to put this throttle and brake thing into J, because otherwise you will have to wait some time before you are able to start your train again. This red light needs to come off, otherwise you won't be able to start it. Yeah, there's only one vehicle, that is okay. What was our limit here? It's actually 100, and we can run away. Sometimes you get signs that tell you that there is a new channel for the radio relevant, and you have to change this.
Příští stanice Libstat.
Like for example here, telling you to 65. The X is telling you that you have to call the station master instead of the signaler, or the other way around. I forgot actually which it was. For the radio check, what does not do a lot, because you can try calling him, he will not answer. I only want to do a radio check. Here we got an announcement of 70, even though we're only dropped to 80. Not entirely sure whether this is by design, because the limit for the freight trains is actually dropping lower than that. This is a whistle marker. Comes in signs or posts. Libstat. Rising to 80. Can put this in as a reminder. Those signs we also know from the German signaling, announcing that there is a station that we're approaching. Libstat. Those white rectangular boards are markers telling you how far you can go on the station. There are some of them with a red border instead of a black border. Then they are like mid-berth markers, so you have to stop then on halfway. Replacing a bit the Zugdeckungssignale that we know in German signaling. Always takes a bit longer for the red light to come off. Here you can see 4 countdown boards for the distance signal.
Příští stanice Košťálov.
Because we have a line speed of 80. Makes sense. Increasing to 95 at the next possible opportunity. Grey mast, distance signal board, approaching a Vjastové main signal most probably. One that is green. Here are those countdown boards for the main signal. 3, 2, and 1. And the main signal here looks quite reddish, but it is actually yellow. And what I might want to show at this point is that this signal here has one of those indicators in white underneath, but not as a light up signal, but as a plate, a steady plate. Now it is red. Middle one is red, the yellow one is on top. Sometimes it looks very reddish. And here you can see this white 5. If there is no indication on the bottom half, then also the white 5 does not apply. This only applies in connection with a yellow light on the bottom. But PTSD kicked in, yeah. This is because they sometimes look so yellowish. Here's a holding signal that only applies to shunting services. Now I overbraked a bit. Next to us is a train with a lot of wood. And many of those stations have this layout that there is a connecting path in the middle where passengers can go on those mini platforms. Košťálov. Now I'm obviously losing a lot of time because of my slow braking, but well. This is also a shunting forbidden sign that you typically find on buffer blocks. Now I don't know what limit it was, 95. Good thing there are a lot of... that happens if you try to accelerate your train as long as the white light is on and forget to release the brakes when you're standing at the station area. Then it does not work anymore. So if you get the train confused, get your throttle in V, engine only, and then forward again. Here you see the longer red and shorter white stripes for the signals that apply for shunting and trains alike. Semily is actually a bit to go from here. Those are gradient markers telling you that we're going in a decline here.
Příští stanice Semily.
Semily. This is one of those shunting only signals. White, blue, white. At the end of this straight there is a limit to something, I don't actually know to what. Only to 90. You might have noticed that not all speed limits are announced by one of those yellow triangular boards. Must be a similar rule like in Austria, where only drops of a certain magnitude are announced. And ASR2 is back. So nice to have you back. There's still some, yeah, there is some limit. Before we get to Semily, you go with your family to Semily. Vectron in SimRail. Are you leaking something? The CEO leaked. Aha, so we're getting a Vectron in SimRail. Interesting. So the first time we have a direct competition between the implementation in Train Sim World and the implementation in SimRail. Here this drop by 10 kilometers per hour was not announced. The next drop to 60 or something will probably be announced. Here we're passing a station. Limit announced to 60. Countdown boards for the distance signal. Again, probably the 60 was announced because the freight limit was lower than 70. We as passenger trains can actually go faster. I will come back to what you're saying is, Arturo. As soon as I got my train stopped at Semily. Main signal countdown boards 3, 2, 1. And now we have already prepared for the stop. Again, a very, very reddish yellow. Semily. It's very short about that. Same setup at the pedestrian station before. Oh no, I overdid it a bit with the braking. As soon as you open the doors, there will be a holding brake that fills the cylinders to 2 bars. So that we can put this thing into J and fill the brake pipe again. Now we actually have to wait a bit until we can go on. Dwelling here. See how people have to use those mini platforms to get onto our train. And look at that, they have actually information boards that show the trains. The scenery looks convincing. So ASIRT, what are you saying? This is what he said. Speaking of Vectron, I can say semi-officially that it is in the plans. In fact, the model is already being developed with some difficulty, but it is being developed. We had several attempts, proposals from external developers who have one ready, but none of them were good. Were very good. Due to the fact that it is a fairly popular machine in the EU and the routes will also develop in the direction of Germany, the choice fell on it. Probably once we catch up a bit after these releases, we will want to post a new roadmap. I just can't wait to one day go at 200 kilometers per hour in the ETCS level 2 in a Vectron in the JMK, the CMK. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So did I manage to mute my... Can I show the map? Like this map here? And they have a Vectron driver in the beta test team. This, I think, is also true for Trains and World team. This is where we're sitting at the moment, and this is the Turnov and Liberec, if I'm not mistaken. Another train came from the opposite direction. This time they actually have the driver in the correct end. And this is one of those trains where they just put a coach at the end of their T1. Getting very stoned, but they can walk through the cab here. Is there a station announcement? I have not heard one. I've heard the announcement on the train. But a station announcement, maybe on the bigger stations like Turnov. We will see when we get there. Suddenly very quiet. Maybe I moved my microphone out of the way when I was blowing my nose. It's getting a bit warm. Apparently it can happen at the This does not look safe. Signal is green. We can go. Does that train have a name? So just imagine this person went to the side. I don't think that this one has. Oh yeah. It has. Košťálov the second. And we are going to Železný Brod. Kitten. Železný Brod. It always sounds like bread that has become green because of mold, but probably means something else. Košťálov means kitten. Oh, that is sweet. So this is the kitten too that we're running on. Isn't that a beautiful landscape here? especially at this part between Simile and Železný Brod. It's beautiful. Going into a tunnel. And getting out of the tunnel we have to slow down to 70, I think. From what I remember. Beautiful, but the trees looks kind of flat sometimes. Železný Brod would translate to Iron Ford, I see. Brod is a ford. The fir trees. I will look at it again. I did not really get this impression, but maybe it is also because of the stream and the quality of the stream. Yeah, but I think I can see what you're saying, Akuma. Not as volumetric. Maybe this is actually the case. The other trees. Yeah, maybe this is something that does not really disturb me so much because I always like a bit of an artificial look. But you're right. Looks a bit more like a plastic tree than other assets. Here you can see the difference between yellow to the left and red to the right. Oh. You may have seen the word Železnice. It's a CD radar. Before I go into more Czech language, I have to make sure not to overshoot the mark here. Which means railway. It's come from the word železo, that is iron. Iron. Again, quite a long dwelling time, 6 minutes to kill at Železný Brod. Za osvobození vlasti položil život za okupaci v letech. Oh, that sounds like something that the Germans did. Železniční zaměstnanec Miroslav Černý. Jest jeho památce. I have no idea what it says. Okupace in 1939 bis 1945 does not ring a good bell. At any rate. Vlaku. Off the train. But this is all what I understand. The toilets have been closed down. Yeah, so much detail, right? Also, these directions here are great. It says that the keys are on the ticket counter for the toilets. What's this here? Leech are the keys. Mushi men and Jenny women. How much I understand. Oh, I managed to get out of the area. The tracks. With my camera. We can have a very intensive view of the trees. There are a lot of them at any rate. Until we get out of the represented area. But look at that, it really looks as things look. Here, a signal that is only applicable to trains. And the plaque that I read was a memorial to a railroad employee who fought and died during the war. Yeah. I thought as much. Called Miroslav Cherny. Here's what you said, Železný. This is the railroad. Zaměstnanec. The railroad worker. And the blue sign tells passengers not to enter the tracks until the train stops. That makes a lot of sense. And now it's actually time to go on. Is my signal clear? Good. Líšný is the next stop. We start with a 90 limit. The limit incoming there is to 75, 70. And there is actually the announcement for it. So this cruise control system is really handy. Otherwise, this train is a bitch to control. So in my opinion, this is really the best DLC that we had in a long time. Even though there are some teething problems. Now we have to switch the channel now. No, that was a different spot. There's also instrument lights.
Dámy a pánové, následuje stanice Líšný.
Why was that so long? So this vigilance system is actually quite aggressive. You have to hit it a lot. What comes to pass that I have a very active Siva pinky in my left hand. Malá, Skála. This is the station where you have this miniature railway that was shown on one of the preview screenshots. The thing is, it makes a sound every time you press it.
Dámy a pánové, vítáme vás v rychlíku ze stanice Stará Paka do stanice. Tento vlak zastavuje ve stanicích Malá Skála, Dolánky, Turnov, Doubí u Turnova, Sychrov, Sedlejovice, Hodkovice nad Mohelkou, Rychnov u Jablonce nad Nisou, Rádlo, Jehmanice, Pilínkov, Liberec,
Jablonce nad Nisou, I think, is the station where you get those group exit signals.
Přejeme vám příjemnou jízdu. Příští stanice Malá Skála. Dámy a pánové, následuje stanice Malá Skála.
The thing is, if you actually wait for the blue lamp to come off, then it does not make a sound when you press it. But if you press it when the blue lamp is still on, then it makes a sound. And then obviously if you don't press it soon enough after the lamp has come off. Malá Skála. That is completely realistic behavior. I don't doubt that at all. Ah, Skála is rock. Malá is the opposite to what was no, it was here's this miniature railway thingy. Velka, yeah, exactly. Stará, on the other hand, is old, right? Stará would be the opposite to Novi. Dolánky. And And then we should more or less soon get to Turnov, what is a bit the halfway point, and where we encounter the Desiros from Germany.
Dámy a pánové, vítáme vás v rychlíku ze stanice Stará Paka do stanice Liberec. Tento vlak zastavuje ve stanicích Dolánky, Turnov, Doubí u Turnova, Sychrov, Sedlejovice, Hodkovice nad Mohelkou, Rychnov u Jablonce nad Nisou, Rádlo, Jehmanice, Pilínkov, Liberec. Bližší informace týkající se jízdy vlaku vám podá
There are still a lot of stations that we have to serve.
Příští stanice Dolánky.
Horn gets cancelled by the announcement. Partially at any rate. After the next bridge there is a limit before we get to Dolánky. Approaching Dolánky.
Dámy a pánové, následuje stanice Dolánky.
Yep, that happens easily. And you get into the Schnellbremsung. If you drive with the keyboard shorts 61, may have to switch to. No X this time. Nobody answers. For the radio check. I wonder how complicated this would be to actually get someone talking to you.
Dámy a pánové, vítáme vás v rychlíku ze stanice Stará Paka do stanice Liberec. Tento vlak zastavuje ve stanicích Turnov, Doubí u Turnova, Sychrov, Sedlejovice, Hodkovice nad Mohelkou, Rychnov u Jablonce nad Nisou, Rádlo, Jeřmanice, Pilínkou, Liberec. Bližší informace týkající se jízdy vlaku vám podá vlakový personál. Přejeme vám příjemnou jízdu. Příští stanice Turnov.
So, now we are getting a flashing yellow. What do you think? Is it flashing fast or is it flashing slow? Pomalu, I would think. So we will prepare for 40. What also agrees with this announcement here for the line speed drop to 40. And we have steady yellow over steady yellow. That means 40 now. And Vistraha. Prepare to stop at the next signal. The equivalent to an SH2 sign, round, not rectangular. So, here at Turnov, one of those red signs that typically mark at the end of the platform. Here it marks where we have to stop so that we don't run over the passengers that are walking here across the tracks. Passenger information systems. Here are the Desiros classics, the 648s, 642s. 648 is a lit, I think. 642s. And they say nicht einsteigen, and that's what the people are doing, nicht einsteigen. Well, if we went to the right, we would eventually reach my hometown, the city radar. Oh! On the right on the track or on the right on the road? That's also a nice flat up there, isn't it? And this is actually quite a big station and yard at Turnov. So he left after departing towards Liberec, I see. Yeah, this is bombastic. So happy that we have the snow. I also look at the roads. The cars are running on the road, not above it or in it. The markings on the roads fit together. This is good craftsmanship. Is that the line to your hometown? But from what I've seen actually on the polls of my dear ambassadors colleagues, people are not too enthusiastic about buying this DLC. But maybe this might be a thing that some people are always a bit skeptical against new countries. I think it's an extremely well made DLC, and also the bugs that are still in it will, I'm quite sure that they can be solved. Route to Prague via my hometown. So see you later. Alright. But I can already hear people complain about the dwelling time of 10 minutes here. The radar says, and that's the line where the 854 runs. I see, so maybe after all it is a hint to a future add-on. Well, although these days their operation is ending because they were replaced by trains from Pisa. Maybe I can use the time to walk around a bit. In my train. handbrake. Battery is still loading. That's good. So people, what do you think? Are you happy with my driving? Or would you rather walk? No phones and no luggage. You can also switch the train lights from here. That will be the emergency brake. It also has mirrors. Can be extended. Funny enough, they come in on their own if you go beyond a certain speed. And there was also a fan. Captain Andy B is raiding with a party of 3. Welcome to my stream, guys. And the silent night owl. Hey, hey. Thank you for the message on the chat. Okay, let's close our doors. That whistle is also sweet. And Captain and the Bee. Welcome, guys, to my stream. Nakora says, hey, Raiders. We're just in time for the departure from Turnov towards Liberec. This is the faster part of the run, I think. Oh, I put on the train brake because I was walking around. Turnova. Here we have a main signal as a dwarf signal. What can happen? No problem. Aspects are the same. 40 and go. Here on the left we have some signals with this marker that mark them as group exit signals. But we will get one for ourselves. At Jablonce, not Nisu, I think. So our kitten is getting up to speed. To 80 announced. Well, we're not even at 90 yet. Now we will pass a motorway if I'm not mistaken. It also looks really realistic. Slow down to 90. Sometimes if you have a slowdown in 2 steps, like from 100 to 90 and then to 80, you get the announcement of the second step before you reach the first step, because of the braking distance. Actually, Doubí, Turnova. Could accelerate to 90 again, but we're not doing this. Look what we have here. We have those countdown boards for a distance signal. That is not a station distance signal, but one is a cover signal. Here is the corresponding distance signal marker for it. So this is not a Vjastové, but a Kručí signal that we will see after we actually stopped at Doubí, Turnova.
Dámy a pánové, následuje stanice Doubí u Turnova.
Yeah, the main signal countdown boards for this. I'm a bit slow because I was so eager to show off this kind of distance signal board. Oh well, we have got the time. Just that the poor souls in the cars have to wait until we finally made it into the station. Interesting thing. Doubí u Turnova. Now we're actually approaching this main signal outside of a station area. because there is no switch. This is not a station, this is just a stop. You can see this yellow triangle with the OP on it, telling us that if that signal was red and we will pass it on authority,
Dámy a pánové, vítáme vás
we would
v
have to
rychlíku ze
watch out at all
stanice
the
Stará
level
Paka
crossings
do stanice Liberec.
till we get to
Tento
the
vlak
next main signal.
zastavuje ve stanicích Sychrov, Sedlejovice. Rychnov u Jablonce
Sychrov.
jsou Rádlo, Jehmanice, Pilínkov,
It's a stop that
Liberec.
you always have to
Bližší
prepare for
informace
because it's
týkající se
easy to
jízdy
run
vlaku vám podá
as we're
vlakový
approaching it
terminál. Přejeme
downhill.
vám
Drop in line speed. Not before we get to Sychrov. This makes it especially easy to run the stop at Sychrov because we are getting allowed to increase our speed 100 at the next corner, I think. So here the normal countdown boards where it's the signal that announces the main signal that is already a home signal for Sychrov, most probably. Here's the 100. Now we're approaching a tunnel. Before the tunnel we have to switch our channel. This makes it easy to run Sychrov. We will not do this. 71 we have to switch. It's yanking the brakes already. Radio check, radio check.
Dámy a pánové, následuje stanice Sychrov.
On the hectometric boards you can see just like you can see that in Germany that we are in we are where we have to override a passenger emergency brake. Sychrov. So, when you go the last meters, or will the people have to walk towards us? No. It is good. There's also an interesting sign. They can tell us that the stop signal is actually on the wrong side. But here it should be, according to the rules. Also exists in the yellow version. And in the white version. After the start here, I think we have to slow down a bit again. Sedlejovice.
Dámy a pánové, vítáme vás v rychlíku ze stanice Stará Paka do stanice Liberec. Tento vlak zastavuje ve stanicích Sedlejovice, Hodkovice nad Mohelkou, Rychnov u Jablonce nad Nisou, Rádl, Jehmanice, Pilínkov, Liberec. Bližší informace týkající se jízdy vlaku vám podá vlakový personál. Přejeme vám příjemnou jízdu. Příští stanice
Also, the tunnel lighting works quite well in this DLC. What I've seen so far.
Dámy a pánové,
Oops. There was one notch too many. But the train is forgiving. I'm gonna inflate the brake pipe again. Especially since the brake pipe is really short. Sedlejovice, not the biggest station in the world, and also not the biggest station in the Czech Republic, but located in a very nice place. This valley here. So, Hodkovice nad Mohelkou.
dámy a pánové, vítáme vás v rychlíku ze stanice Stará Paka do stanice Liberec. Tento vlak zastavuje ve stanicích Hodkovice nad Mohelkou, Rychnov u Jablonce nad Nisou, Rádl, Jehmanice, Pilínkov, Liberec. Bližší informace týkající se jízdy vlaku. Příští stanice Hodkovice nad Mohelkou.
We get a bit of 100. Corner there is a limit to something, but I don't know what it was. There's a distance signal at any rate. Limit yet. The station. That is incoming. Here's a limit. It's 90. Okay. again a very red looking yellow signal. Red leader, hey guys. Nice to see you.
Dámy a pánové, následuje stanice Hodkovice nad Mohelkou.
Hodkovice nad Mohelkou. Alright. No dwelling time now. Posor flak. Beware of the train. Rychnov u Rablonce nad Nisou.
Dámy a pánové, vítáme vás v rychlíku ze stanice Stará Paka do stanice Liberec. Tento vlak zastavuje ve stanicích Rychnov u Jablonce nad Nisou, Rádlo, Jehmanice, Pilínkov, Liberec. Bližší informace týkající se jízdy vlaku vám podá vlakový personál. Přejeme vám příjemnou jízdu. Příští stanice Rychnov u Jablonce nad Nisou.
And Roscoe is raiding with a party of 12. No, this is getting a crowd here after all. Thank you so much for raiding. Alexander B and Descendable. Beautiful to have you on the stream. Very much welcome. Marian R as well. Gangulu. A lot of new names. Roscoe. So what do you think about the route? It is a great route. It is a great DLC, one of the best DLCs that we had in quite some time. Some teething problems, some bugs in the scenario scripts that are still to be fixed. But great trains, great scenarios. And I will rewatch the B-roll for sure. Yo! We have a lot of the signaling happening that we talked about in the stream today. And it is a lot of beautiful content for one DLC. So if there was one sure buy this year, then it is this one. And the train is called Kitten 2. What more can you desire? Rychnov, do we have more? Yes, we are getting slowed down even more. Probably we should actually get a sign for that. Now we are approaching a distance signal. Distance signal is clear. Preparing for the stop. Here's 70. Is the Czech signaling more to the Polish side or the German side? It's actually a nice mixture of both. Well, German signaling was influential for Polish signaling and for Czech signaling both, and you can see that. But obviously, since it has the OSJD tradition,
Dámy a pánové, následuje stanice Rychnov u Jablonce nad Nisou.
it has more to do with the German HL signals and the Polish signals than with other signaling systems in Germany. So my train is all stalling a bit. This is the station that actually has those group exit signals, where we will probably get a call from the station master that the green signal is ours. Yes. See, we are getting a call. You have to accept it. Wow. He doesn't say anything, but we got this call, and that is one of those beautiful, nice things. And why? Because we have just one signal for 3 tracks, more or less. So a group exit signal, and this is where we have this marker here with the strike diagonally. No, they don't have Indusi. LZ they are using. So, with all the joy about the call, I forgot to release the brakes earlier, but it's okay. Once we got the call from the station master, we can rely that the green signal is actually for us and not for some train on the other tracks here. Whistle board. Radlo is the next station.
Dámy a pánové, vítáme vás v rychlíku ze stanice Stará Paka do stanice Liberec. Tento vlak zastavuje ve stanicích Rádlo, Jehmanice, Pilínkov, Liberec. Bližší informace týkající se jízdy vlaku vám podá vlakový personál. Přejeme vám příjemnou jízdu. Příští stanice Rádlo,
Yeah, but this means that we're getting really close to Liberec now. Is there a limit around the corner? No, only a little drop to 80 ahead. Stop. Turn off the automatic speed control. Get the e-brake in.
Dámy a pánové, následuje stanice Rádlo.
Rádlo. Can't see the platform until you get very close. Yeah. That is a longish platform compared to what we stopped at before. What a nice alley. Why does nobody want to get out or on the train at the Radlo? Jarmanice.
Dámy a pánové, vítáme vás v rychlíku ze stanice Stará Paka do stanice Liberec, příští stanice Pilínkov, bližší informace. Distance signal. We are stopping at Jarmanice. Signal looks red, but is actually yellow.
motorway.
Dámy a pánové, následuje stanice Jehmanice.
Some sort of a power installation to the right. Should have to go beyond the mid-berth here. Jehmanice. So those assets for those paths are superior to the dirt roads that we had in the game before. Oops. Do I have an improved PC? Well, it did not improve beyond what I reported a couple of months ago about having improved my GPU or upgraded it. But you're right. I also think that this route is easier on the performance than other routes are. Maybe this is the upside of the fir trees being plastic-like.
Dámy a pánové, vítáme vás v rychlíku ze stanice Stará Paka.
That is the last stop.
Liberec, příští stanice Liberec, bližší informace týkají.
I think we get one more of those distance signals with the alternative distance signal boards. We have to prefer for a slowdown to stop 80. We do. It's almost like gliding into the airport with your plane. Again. Some cows. But Pilenkov is also a station that you're coming in downhill, so easy not to overshoot it, especially since there is this cover signal just at the end of the platform. so that the approach to the station is almost the approach to the distance signal. Here are the countdown boards with the horizontal stripes. We have a caution at the distance signal. That means we could actually spat at the protection signal behind the platform. Even though it is permissive, I don't know if the game would allow us to. Even if we stopped before we passed it.
Dámy a pánové, následuje stanice Pilinkov.
Pilinkov. You can hear the tennis courts at Pilinkov stopping point. Here we are, players of the game. Pilinkov, everybody is standing around in the grass. Dogs barking, tennis ball plopping sounds. That's Pilinkov for you. And now our signal cleared. You can again see this yellow triangle with the OP that reminds you to take special care for the level crossings when you're passing this signal at red. Oh, what did I do? I stalled my engine again. And now we're on the last leg to Liberec. Here's one of the level crossings that we have to pay attention to if we pass the signal with authority. Okay, I did not make it in underneath in under 3 hours. Now we're getting a bit of a stutter, don't we? We're getting a flashing yellow signal. I would say it is flashing fast, is it not? And probably it is enough to slow down to 60. Corresponds with line speed. Let's see if it was okay to slow down to 60. Whether this yellow light at the bottom has its orange bar. And then it has, then we can guess whether this was a fast or a slowly flashing yellow. Probably it was a slowly flashing yellow. Kilometer to go here on Liberec station. It's a bit empty. Still a lot of room for terrains to be added. Here on the left you can see a flashing white alone. What is a special shunting signal? Yeah, we don't have a orange band, that means it must have been flashing slowly. 14
Dámy a
stop.
pánové, následuje stanice Liberec, konečná.
We're stopping where the people are. More or less, at any rate. So, say goodbye to the kitten train. Now that we have arrived to Liberec. Here we are. Again, some Desiros from the West Front line. Oops. It's better not look that way. Close the doors and finish the service. That's that, my friends. A beautiful DLC. I was not so much convinced about buying a DLC than this one. Tomorrow it will release, and yeah, thank you for joining me. Thank you for rating me. Thank you for talking to me on the chat. I have to go and grab some sleep to get rid of my cold in the head. And I am sure we will hear more about the Czech signaling. There is a lot in the game, and there is still more to explore in further DLCs. Red Leader says, really good DLC, Akura. Thank you. Red Leader says, good night, everyone. Akura, good night, everyone. Guess we will make another stream for the 145 years. On Thursday, I will be back into the 145. I have not touched this thing yet, so I have no idea what we will get. But if I don't manage to prepare anything, then I will just play around with it together with you. Dobrou noc, Cecilia Rada, dobrou noc, people of the game, players of the world, my friends. Have the greatest of weeks until we meet again. Bye bye.